I used to think the ugliest sound in the world was a car crash. It's not. The ugliest sound is the silence a family makes after you've broken it with your own hands. When the house is breathing, the fridge hums, the neighbor's dog barks like always, and inside your chest, there's a stadium of people not cheering for anything. My name is Daniel Rivera. I was 39 when the first crack showed up, and 46 the day it stopped being the only thing I saw. Columbus, Ohio. Eldest of four. First to figure out how to fix a toilet and splice a cable line. I married my high school sweetheart, Jenna, at 20. We did the ordinary miracle, 2 sons, Ethan and Marco, and twin girls, Lily and June. Mortgage with a furnace that always waited for February to complain. Minivan with a Cheerio fossil record in the 3rd row. Pictures magneted to the fridge. A junk drawer that could legally be declared a museum. Jenna used to introduce me as steady. She'd say it like a compliment and a warning. This is a man you can build on, but don't expect fireworks. I worked at a regional bank as a fraud analyst. If you imagine I wore a trench coat and sneaked down alleys, sorry to disappoint. Fraud is spreadsheets with bruises. My job was untangling stories from proof, timestamps, IPs, deposits that didn't belong to the checks they rode in on. I liked it because the math made liars tired. At home, I thought we were fine, which, in hindsight, is 1 step up from ignorance and 6 steps down from paying attention. We had a marriage made of flights and landings, and lately there had been more landings than flights. Money was always tight without admitting it, like pants after Thanksgiving. Sex was a calendar item we didn't cancel, but we did push. I'd reach across the bed and Jenna would roll toward me and give me a kiss that meant, "I still love you," and a whisper that promised maybe tomorrow. I believed her because belief costs less than fights. I suggested counseling once, twice. She shook her head. "We don't need strangers in our business," she said, like the word strangers was the villain and not the distance between us. At 39, Jenna declared a rebrand. Gym at 5 a.m., hot yoga at night, cream out of coffee, almond milk in. A planner with gold rings and words like intention and glow up scrawled across the monthly pages. Her job changed too. Promotion to office coordinator at a marketing firm in Grandview. New manager with a car that smelled like warranties, a little more money, a lot more happy hours. She came home late smelling like citrus and leather, and I convinced myself that was the scent of success. "Clients like FaceTime," she said, sliding off her heels, and I said, "Clients like results." And she said, "Results take FaceTime," and shut the conversation like a laptop. The first bell was small and impolite. Her phone buzzed face up on the counter while she took a pan out of the oven. One line on the lock screen, "You leaving soon?" "I'm at the lot." Heart emoji. No contact name. A number I didn't recognize. Opinion splits here. Half of you think I should have confronted instantly. The other half think you keep scrolling and pray you're wrong. I put the phone back where it was and did what my job had trained me to do. I watched systems, not people. Our anniversary arrived on a Thursday with rain. I bought flowers that looked like apology and celebration confused each other. Jenna made the dinner reservation because I want to treat you for once. We laughed like 2 coworkers who don't know how to talk about anything but the project. At home afterward, she gave me a card that read, in her handwriting, "Let's do a weekend getaway soon." Then she added, too lightly, "By the way, my HR benefits guy said it's smart to update beneficiaries now that we refinanced. I sent in a form for your life insurance to streamline everything. It's just housekeeping." I said, "Show me the email." She said, "Later." I said, "Now." She frowned like I'd asked a child to hand over a toy. "You don't trust me?" she asked, script loaded, and there it was. The trapdoor disguised as communication. I backed off. She smiled and the conversation glided into the sink like dishwater. A week later, a letter arrived. "We've received your request to update the beneficiary on policy to Jenna Rivera as sole recipient. Notification only, no action required if correct. I stared until the words quit feeling like language and started feeling like fog. I put the letter in a folder in my desk, labeled it taxes, and did not mention it. Call me coward. I call it recon with a pulse of cowardice. Life kept being loud. The twins needed costumes for Spirit Week. Marco discovered a talent for showing up to practice and forgetting his cleats. Ethan learned what it feels like to be both brother and third parent. My mother came by on Sundays to put too much garlic in everything and tell my kids that being bilingual is a superpower. Jenna kept getting stronger at the gym and thinner in the places that made strangers compliment her and me feel old. Her manager started liking every photo she posted. Small bells, then louder. The day everything broke was a Thursday that didn't deserve the responsibility. I came home early with takeout from the salad place she loved, the one that charged $17 to make lettuce feel like a luxury. The twins were at Emma's. Ethan was driving Marco to practice. The house was quiet in that staged way. A new men's jacket hung on the chair by the stairs. Expensive, not mine. My body knew before my brain caught up. You know how a dog lifts its head before a storm? Like that. I called her name once, softly, the way you test ice. No answer. There it was, the sound I still hear in the middle of the night, the hush of a house telling you the truth. I followed the sounds I didn't want to admit I heard, a foot on a floor, a stifled laugh, the guest room door clicking with the calm of habit, not fear. I put the takeout bag on the kitchen island like it weighed a future and knocked on the guest room door with the backs of my fingers like a polite man in a movie. I do not know why I knocked. Maybe because my body wanted one last second to choose. The door opened 3 inches. Jenna's face appeared, hair messy in the way I used to be allowed to enjoy. "Danny," she said, very small, like a child dropping a marble across the floor. Behind her, a man moved, taller than me, gym shoulders, hair that said he learned product names at a barber. He didn't look guilty. He looked inconvenienced. "Let's be adults," he said. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "This isn't what it looks like." Just an order from a man who thought using the word adult made him one. I wish I could tell you I walked away right then. I wish I could tell you I closed the door and the night became a calendar entry, call lawyer. But I have a temper I've camouflaged with kindness for most of my life, and in that moment it arrived like sirens inside my skull. I shoved the door. It gave. He moved toward me like this was something he trained for with men like me. I swung. He ducked and laughed, and then he swung. I grabbed, he grabbed. We turned into furniture and drywall and the kind of sound you never want your children to associate with home. Jenna screamed my name and tried to pull me off, and in the tangle I threw her off without seeing her, and she hit the floor, not hard, but hard enough to make a noise no husband ever wants to be near. That noise undid me. I let go. The man fell back onto the carpet. Blood slicked his mouth. A tooth sat by the baseboard like a small white accusation. My hands shook, and my heart shook harder, that uneven arrhythmic slam your body makes when it realizes who's driving. I did one thing right. I called 911. 911, what's your emergency? I assaulted someone, I said, voice like gravel blendered. My wife, there's a man in my house. He needs an ambulance. The operator asked me to keep pressure on his mouth and not hang up. I pressed a towel to his face, and he flinched, and I said, "I'm sorry." And he said something like, "animal." And I said nothing, because the word fit, and I wasn't ready to fix it. Cops arrived. Medics. If you've never watched uniformed strangers inventory your worst minute, it's a humbling you don't come back from the same. First officer scanned the room, broken jewelry box scattered across the rug, a hole in the drywall, Jenna crying in the doorway, 2 men breathing like trains. He nodded at a picture he had seen before. "Sir, turn around," he said. Cuffs went on. They always feel too tight, even when you deserve them. Jenna reached a hand toward me and then lowered it as if touching me could place evidence where it shouldn't be. My boys pulled into the driveway early, Marco had forgotten his glove, and the look on Ethan's face made me understand how a heart can fracture without bleeding. He was 18 and suddenly 40. Marco went silent in a way I didn't know how to speak to. At the station, I told the truth because the truth was bad enough. No weapon, no threat beyond fists, and a man who chose spectacle over silence and will spend the rest of his life keeping a hand on a flywheel that longs to spin. The other man filed a statement. He probably told his wife a story I will never hear. They charged me with felony assault, 3rd degree. My 911 call became prosecution exhibit 1. Judges do that face where they try to keep their mouths steady while their eyes betray the part of them that still believes in people. I heard my own voice through a speaker and didn't recognize it. I got 7 years. Good behavior, anger management, victim empathy, a transfer after a yard scuffle where someone mistook me for an easier mark than I was. If you're here for prison lore, I won't feed it to you. I'll tell you what mattered. Prison teaches you the math of absence. It takes your mornings and hands you schedules. It takes your name and gives you a number. It takes the soft corners off memory and replaces them with a count, visits, minutes on the phone, commissary dollars. You learn what a Tuesday can carry. You learn what it means to be too late and still alive. Jenna wrote twice in the first 6 months. The letters were long, sincere the way, and apologies are when written at a safe distance. I held them, and then I sent them back unopened. That sounds cruel. Maybe it is. Or maybe it was the first time I enforced a boundary that wasn't about proving I was right. She tried to visit. I refused the request. That also sounds cruel. It felt like the only way I could avoid turning a visiting room into a theater. My mother hated me for it. My father didn't say anything, because men his age don't have words for when love is smarter than pride. My sons split themselves into roles. Ethan left boyhood at 7:42 p.m. on a Tuesday while sitting at our kitchen table making a list of bills. He took 2 jobs. He missed 1 prom. He moved me from resentful to reverent without meaning to. Marco tried drinking and didn't like the man it made him. He tried quitting and didn't like the quiet it left. He seesawed. People judge seesaws from the sidewalk. They should try balancing on one. The twins, Lily and June, turned into steel and elastic at once. They blocked Jenna on Instagram and then called her crying because daughters are allowed to contradict themselves. They wrote me letters that smelled like bubblegum and sadness. Then they stopped writing for months at a time because letter writing is for people whose hearts have more room than theirs did then. One afternoon in year 2, a guy stuck a sharpened toothbrush in my side in a bathroom and told me to hand over my commissary. He got my ramen and a Snickers. I got 6 stitches and a transfer. My brother, David, a CO in another facility, called in favors to put me somewhere with fewer men eager to right imaginary wrongs with improvised cutlery. I learned anything can happen, and almost nothing should. I learned thank you tastes like copper when you can't pay it back. News, during year 3, came in one of those disinterested envelopes, my father's stroke. My mother's collapse 2 weeks later. I did not go to their funerals. I sat on a bunk and held my breath until the part of me that wanted to be a son again ran out of oxygen. I started attending a group. A chaplain ran for men whose families were rearranging without them. I did worksheets that would embarrass me if you saw them, with questions you think you don't need until you do. Who are you when no one can see you? How do you love someone you cannot fix? What does accountability look like in a mouth that used to speak blame? Jenna began dating someone, a man with a quiet job and a quieter reputation. She didn't broadcast. The twins told me in a letter with their meanness carefully leashed. I felt nothing. Then everything. Then nothing again. That cycle repeated until it bored me. Boredom, it turns out, is underrated when you've spent years entertaining your worst self. I came up for early release in year 5. The hearing room smelled like disinfectant and pencil shavings. They liked that I had never missed a program. They liked my supervisor's note about how I trained new guys in the print shop without acting like a pretend warden. They liked the chaplain's letter about how I stopped insisting my story was the only story. They approved me. A correctional officer handed me a bag with my clothes and a folded piece of paper I had given myself. A promise in my own handwriting: do not audition for a movie. Choose the boring thing that saves you. The sky the day I walked out looked like someone had cleaned it for company. Ethan was there, jaw tight with pride he didn't want to make a speech about. Marco hugged me and whispered, "I'm sorry I wasn't better," and I said me too, and meant every layer of it. The twins stood behind them, arms crossed the way teenagers defend themselves from joy. On the drive home, we listened to a station that plays songs from whatever decade you wish you were still in. No one sang. We didn't need to. Re-entry is less montage than paperwork. I slept 2 nights at my brother's, woke up at 4 a.m., both times because silence is loud when you haven't heard it in years. I moved into a studio above a nail salon with a window that pretends to be a door. I got a job from a man I'd once saved from a check kiting scheme. He remembered the person I was before the headline and decided to gamble on that version. I met with a parole officer who had a face like a burned-out math teacher and a heart like a librarian sick of noise. She liked checklists. I brought checklists. We got along. 2 weeks after I got out, the twins turned 18. They insisted on a party at my brother's because he has a backyard and a grill that pretends to be a personality. Jenna came with a cake and that smile you put on for a house where not everybody wants to see you. She saw me, and the smile dissolved. She walked over with a manila folder clutched like a life preserver. "You forgot these," she said, placing the letters I'd sent back unopened on the hood of my brother's truck. She stood there, not crying. Then she said, "I'm sorry," and it was both not enough and the most she had ever given me honestly. "You're the mother of my kids," I said, "nothing more. It wasn't a knife. It was a fence." She nodded. The twins watched from the porch, chins up like their necks had grown armor. Ethan stood behind them with a paper plate he didn't know where to put. Marco drifted near the fence like a boy who learned how to leave rooms without anyone noticing. If you want me to hate Jenna out loud, you'll be disappointed. She is not a cartoon villain. She is a person who made a series of selfish and cowardly decisions and then paid for them with a quieter misery than mine. After the party, she texted me asking if we could meet, for closure. I didn't answer. Closure is a luxury for people who have time to rehearse. I had a parole officer and a job and 4 kids who needed me to show up without a speech. I set up a parenting plan with the twins even though they were technically grown. They didn't need me to tell them when to be where, but they did need to know I would be where I said I would. We picked 2 dinners a week, Tuesdays at my place, Thursdays at Ethan's because his apartment has a couch that doesn't squeak. Sundays became rotation nights, sometimes all of us, sometimes whoever wasn't working. Jenna got Wednesdays for the twins and weekend brunches because I would rather chew glass than make my children choose between parents on a bakery's patio while people take pictures of their croissants. Work rebuilt me in ways therapy hadn't finished. Fraud analysis looks different when you've been the bad headline. I brought less judgment to my desk and more curiosity. I learned to ask, why this lie? Before, how do we stop it? My boss trusted me with the cases no one else wanted because they were boring or messy. Boring and messy turned out to be my lane. The day I really understood I might be okay came courtesy of a grocery store. I was buying too many bananas like a man trying to prove he ate well now. I turned into an aisle and there was the other man's wife, his ex-wife now, staring at pasta sauce like it had asked to borrow money. We saw each other. We didn't run. She approached, brave because she decided to be and not because she felt it. I hit your wife at the hospital, she said, like a confession she'd carried too long. I don't regret it. I regret that I wanted more. I broke his tooth, I said. I regret all of it. She nodded. Are you okay? She asked, and the question had no business being as kind as it felt. I'm boring, I said. It's saving me. She smiled like she'd found a joke that didn't need to be said out loud. I hope your boring keeps you alive, she said, and we moved our carts along like two people on the same river. I tried therapy on the outside because pretending prison cured me would be arrogant. My therapist was a woman who wore the same sneakers every week and called avoidance clever suffering. She didn't ask me to forgive Jenna. She asked me to forgive the version of me who knocked on a bedroom door like a gentleman in a movie and then tried to box fate into submission. She had me write a letter to the man who laughed and the man who bled and the woman who made choices. I wrote them and burned them in a grill because I like concrete rituals more than metaphors. There's a sentence I avoided for a long time. I scared my kids. It's truer than any offense I could pin to Jenna. Ethan told me, months after I got out, that he hears drywall breaking in his head when car doors slam. Marco admitted he has to check the locks twice because the night of my arrest taught him that safety is a rumor. The twins confessed that sometimes they hated me more than Jenna because I was the one who broke the house, even if she was the reason. I listened without defending myself. That's the whole trick. You listen. You don't make it about your pain. You apologize without needing a pardon. Jenna eventually married the quiet man. They live on a cul-de-sac where everyone's trash bins match. She sent me the kids' holiday photos each year whether I asked or not. I started opening them. I started replying with thanks. Growth can be as boring as good male habits. On the second anniversary of my release, I took the twins to the courthouse where everything began and ended in ways I didn't choose. We sat on the steps eating sandwiches from a cart, and I told them I was sorry for the night I stopped being their map. Lily said, "We know." And June said, "Do you?" And the answer is both. Ethan joined us after work and slid me a paper I didn't expect, a listing for a small ranch house a mile from where the twins work. It's ugly, he said. We could make it less ugly. We bought that house. I scraped wallpaper that had seen too many arguments. The twins painted their rooms even though they were technically adults. Marco built a shelf crooked, and we left it crooked on purpose as a reminder that perfection is a kind of poison. We planted a little garden. The first tomato tasted like a truth I'd earned. Years stretch. Holidays sort themselves into a schedule that doesn't bruise. Jenna and I stand at opposite ends of a soccer field watching June coach little kids, and we wave like neighbors who keep their hedges trimmed. The other man moved to another state. I hear rumors about him from people who still trade gossip like currency. I don't spend it. The ex-wife I met by the pasta sauce got remarried. She sent me a thank you note for not responding when tabloids wanted quotes. Apparently, some producers tried to turn my story into an episode of something. I said no. The world doesn't need another man's rage cut to a beat. You can stream. What would I tell the 39-year-old version of me if I could? Walk away. Put your keys in your pocket and take your heart for a ride around the block. Eat the $17 salad alone at the park. Cry in your car. Call your brother. Call your friend who sucks at advice but is great at sitting next to you while you decide not to become a headline. Call 911 on yourself sooner. I need help. I am not safe. There is a man in my house, and the man is me. I keep a ring on my finger still, not the wedding band. A plain hardware store ring I bought for $6 the week after I got out. People ask why. Because it reminds me my hands are not weapons unless I make them. Because every time I twist it absent-mindedly, I'm counting to 10 the way a sane version of me should have in the hallway that night. Because my daughter once grabbed my hand in a crowd and said, "Don't go," and the ring presses a promise into my skin. Do I forgive Jenna? It's the wrong question. Forgiveness is a ledger I don't keep because I'm tired of pretending I'm an accountant of pain. I keep a different ledger now. Hours spent helping my sons move apartments, Saturdays teaching the twins how to change their oil, even though they have not once remembered how, minutes sitting on porches at 9 p.m., while one of the four tells me something they could tell the other parent but chose me for. Every entry is small and boring. The balance looks like a life. There's one more scene I haven't told you because it's not dramatic, and that's why it matters. Last fall, I took Marco to a Tigers game because the Reds were in town and he wanted to see a man he'd loved when he was 8 swing a bat like gods are still possible. We sat in seats a friend gave me and ate hot dogs that tasted like childhood plus regret plus mustard. During the 5th inning, a foul ball cracked over our heads into the section behind us. A man 3 rows back stood to catch it and missed. The ball hit the seat in front of him and ricocheted toward our aisle. It landed between my feet. 10 years ago, I would have dove like a soldier. I looked at Marco, at the kid next to him whose eyes were bigger than baseballs, and I picked the ball up and handed it to the kid. Marco laughed and clapped me on the shoulder. "Boring," he said. "I love boring." It felt like winning something I didn't know I was playing for. Some of you reading this want me to condemn Jenna. Some of you want me to absolve myself. I won't give you either. We did harm to each other in different languages. She spoke in omission and FaceTime and a beneficiary change she tried to call housekeeping. I spoke in impact and drywall and a 911 call that's louder than any apology. If there's a moral, it's this. The moment your life feels like a movie, cancel the show. If you can't, at least call the credits fast. The longer you stay in the scene, the more expensive it gets. If you're here because you've got your own quiet bell ringing in your house, because a text showed up or a jacket that isn't yours is hanging on a chair, take it from me. Document. Don't detonate. Walk away. Don't perform. If there are kids, make them the headline and yourself the footnote. Love isn't proven by volume. Respect isn't about winning. And sometimes the bravest thing a man can do is leave his own living room. That's my story. It doesn't have a crescendo. It has a steady drum I didn't know how to hear before. Wake up, show up, pay attention, say less, keep promises. The silence in my house sounds different now. It's not the ugliest sound in the world anymore. It's a kind of peace I can live inside. What would you have done in my place, confronted or walked away, called a lawyer or 911? Do you think kids should eventually forgive a parent who blew up the marriage if that parent owns it and does the work? Tell me what you think in the comments, and if this story held you, tap like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.